It has been a minute since we had this bike on the channel, which is a real shame really, because I absolutely love riding this bike. But then with the summer fast approaching, you may see me out on this bike more often. It's only 4 days now until Paint and Bike Night returns. In fact, if you're watching this video the day that it comes out, then it's only 2 days before Paint and Bike Night returns. And it's not just the summer that's going to get me out on this bike more often. There's a couple of other things as well, but more on that in a moment. So since this bike was last on the channel, then we've done a couple of jobs, we've had a couple of developments, and actually one that goes back a few months. Those of you that follow the channel or follow the bike may remember me saying a little while back that I was unable to get the seat off the bike, which was really odd because I'd had this seat off the bike several times. In fact, I'd had the seat off the bike because we were tidying up some of the wiring under the seat, fitting a couple of new covers for the battery terminals, and really importantly I fitted a battery charger lead, an Optimate battery lead, so that we can charge her when she's flat. And after doing all of that work, I came to charge the battery. Just wanted to put the battery on charge, you know, try out this new battery charger, and the bloody seat wouldn't come off. And it was odd, like we'd just had the seat off a few days beforehand, had the seat off several times before, but no, she decided, you're not having my seat. And so we were a little bit stuck there for a minute. Now I did manage to get the seat off eventually, because there's a cable operated by a key which operates a latch which detaches the seat, and every time I put the key in and turned the key, you could hear the cable moving, and it was like, I can hear the cable moving, I'm sure I can hear the latch moving, you know, what's going on here? Well, I managed to get my hand underneath the seat, managed to get my fingertip to catch onto the cable, and I just pulled the outer sheath of the cable and it detached the seat. Turned out what actually happened was the outer sheath of the cable is meant to be clipped in to a little groove, and what was happening was, when I was turning the key, the outer sheath of the cable was moving, but because it wasn't clipped into its little groove, the catch wasn't actually operating. It sounded like it was, and what I could hear moving, what I thought was the catch moving, was actually the outer sheath of the cable. So it literally just required me to just clip the outer sheath of the cable back into its little groove, and it works again. Bloody ridiculous little problem. Almost as ridiculous as the fact that the entire mechanism can be overcome simply by pushing your fingers underneath the seat, grabbing a hold of the cable and pulling it. Kind of completely undermines the fact that we have a lockable seat if you can circumnavigate the lock so easily. But hey, I'm glad it's fixed. And speaking of seats, we have a pillion seat. Yes, folks, it may finally be happening, and we may finally be taking a pillion on the bike. And after fitting the pillion seat, I decided that I just had to clean up the pillion pegs. I mean, the hangers themselves could probably do with a bit of a polish, but the pegs were crunch, 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 and then they clearly hadn't been used in a very long time.
they definitely needed cleaning, desperately needed cleaning, whereas now it's a nice solid clean click, click, nothing wrong with them whatsoever. Now, the last time I had this bike on the channel, I said that the biggest problem with this bike is that when I'm on the bike, I feel squashed. You know, the bars are really low, the seat's high, the rear pegs are really high, and being 6'2" and having a lot of height in my legs, I just felt really squashed on the bike, and I wasn't enjoying riding the bike as much as I had hoped. And so finally I decided, let's try and address this issue with some Street Triple 675 rear sets. And here they are in all their glory. Now, originally when I bought these, I didn't have the gear selector with them. I thought I could just use the Daytona gear selector, but every time I tried that, I was literally hitting the bottom of the set there. So I had to wait for a Street Triple 675 gear selector to come up for sale. So once we had all the components, it was simply a case of getting them cleaned up, getting them fitted, and they weren't too bad, at least on the face of things. But on the inside of the set, the bits that are really hard to get to when you're cleaning a bike, they were absolutely filthy. And me being me, I cannot fit dirty components to vehicles, so they had to have a damn good clean-up. These pegs are approximately 2 inches lower than the Daytona pegs. So how much of a difference can a 2-inch drop really make? Well, I can tell you, it has transformed the way this bike feels for me. You see, last year I fitted these tank pads here because, well, for a few reasons really. First of all, the seat is rather slippery, but I wanted to be able to grip the tank and have more control and not slide about the place so much. But the problem was that my knees were up here, and so for the most part I was completely missing the tank pad. Again, my knees were just too high. But with those new pegs, dropping my knees down a couple of inches has made all the difference. My legs are finally where they're meant to be, and I'm actually finally able to make use of these tank pads. Now, of course, in order to fit these rear sets, I'd got all the components together and nice and cleaned up and ready, but to actually fit them, I moved one of the bikes out of the garage, moved Lauren over, got the job done, was really happy that the job was finally done, and then she decided that she wasn't going to let me turn her alarm off, which was really, really frustrating. The key fob just wouldn't work. Seems that the key fob battery had died. I mean, I've had the bike 12 months, I'd never changed the batteries. But it had worked in the morning and then not in the afternoon, so there I am, needing to move the bike over, couldn't turn her alarm off. So I went and got the other key fob. That didn't work either. So here I am, suddenly with a bike that needs moving, the alarm is on, both key fob batteries are flat. I had no choice but to just move the bike, which might have annoyed my neighbours because the alarm started going off. So we've had to replace her key fob batteries. So we've had some fun and games with this bike, even though we haven't used the bike that much lately. I may have to clean her before bike night, depends what the weather's doing next week. I mean, even just bringing her out this morning, she's starting to look a little bit dirty. In fact, the last time I cleaned this bike, I heard something rattle, and when I took a closer look, we had a broken exhaust clamp. Just randomly, maybe corrosion got in there or something, but yeah, randomly broken exhaust clamp that we had to get changed because it's almost time for her MOT.
She only has about a month left on her MOT, and Mr. MOT man will probably take the opportunity to tell me that my exhaust is loud. Yes sir, tell me something that I don't know. But given that we've only done about 750 miles since her last MOT, I am hoping that she'll be okay.